What's up, y'all? I'm Lady and welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are discussing part 1 of Cane River. I hope you all are enjoying this book so far. So far, I am enjoying it and I'm finding it very interesting. We are here today to discuss part 1. This book is broken down into 3 parts, so I will post 3 videos for each part, and the last video will just be my overall thoughts on this. In the comment section, y'all let me know, what are you thinking so far? Are you liking it? Are you not liking it? What do you think about the writing? What do you think about the history aspect of it? And all the things, okay? For those of you who are joining me, I definitely want to hear your thoughts. I apologize if there was some confusion in my second announcement video, but these videos are pre-recorded, but we can chat live in the comment section when I post the video. So I'm just not going to do a live yet. Maybe sometime in the far future I will get into doing a live on my channel, but as of right now, no live. So I hope you all enjoy that, and I hope that clears up any confusion. So Cane River starts with the first person that we meet, who is Suzette. Suzette is the author's great grandmother. And we also meet her great grandmother, who is Elizabeth. They are working on a plantation. They are enslaved people, and we are really following their day-to-day lives. I like the fact that Lalita Tademy lets us know in the author's notes that she took some liberties in writing this book, because it is not nonfiction. It is historical fiction is what I call it, because I'm reading it like that way. What's great about it is, for some of the parts in the book, we have those bits of actual history. You have her family's actual family tree in here, and then some really interesting parts. If I can just get to one really quickly as I flip through here. Let's see, keeps escaping me. We have one, an actual divorce decree from 1842 in here, written. Of course, you can't really see the writing, but we met this Doralice is Suzette's godmother, and she is a free Black woman who gets divorced in 1842. And I don't want to get into any spoilers. I'll do my best. If I do give a spoiler or think of something that I think it may be a spoiler, I will definitely try to point that out in advance. But you see that they're having that piece of history that she was able to find to tie in with the character. I found that very fascinating. If you don't know something about me, I love family history. I try to trace, at least on my mother's side, some of my family history, and I didn't get very far. But when I read books like this, when I see someone who knows their can go back 4 generations of their family, I just love that. I just love that. So if you're wondering, where did the name Cane River come from? In the book, we get a map of Cane River. This takes place in Louisiana, all along the border of this river, where her family lived, and some sold up the river, some sold down the river, and it all takes place in this space. So like I said, we start out with her great grandmother, Suzette, as she is 9 years old. Suzette, in the beginning of this story, she has hopes and dreams outside of just being enslaved, and something very tragic happens to her, and really it just dashes all of those dreams. All of those hopes and dreams just go out of the window, and it was very heartbreaking. I think about the difference between her and her mother, Elizabeth. Elizabeth being a woman who has lived her life and seen the harsh realities that she has faced and several other people around her, because Elizabeth has been sold to Cane River from some other part of Virginia. And so she knows what her daughter will face, but she still, try not to say too much, because like Suzette, her head is just swollen at a young age, that innocence and that hope and all of that. And then by the end of part 1, after all of the things that Suzette has faced, she definitely becomes just like her mother, Elizabeth. The life has just beat them down. As I said, so far, it's like we're really just going through the day-to-day life of these people living on the Durban plantation. It's in the 1830s. And time is really moving also throughout the book, because at one point something happens which involves the plantation being sold, and that takes place in 1850. And in the book, again, we have another piece of history. This is the actual Durban Plantation Bill of Sale from 1850. And you see the different characters that we've gotten to know so far in this book, where they're sold, their ages, and their conditions. We see old man Bertram, who's like the oldest slave on this plantation, and it says age 70, health not guaranteed, and it shows who he was sold to. We see Suzette, who has 2 children, a girl and a boy. Philomene is the girl that we meet, and we discover her story in part 2. And her son, he is sold to a different plantation, but they are all along Cane River. So even though they are sold, they're still able to visit with one another. What is great about that is at least something good about it. Someone is so far away, but no one of these main characters that we are reading about actually get so far away. So far, what I think the author has captured with this book is the hopelessness or the lack of self that these characters have, because they are people that are enslaved, that they are owned. Like I mentioned, something tragic happens to Suzette, and you think about when she's questioned about this, she says, I had to do what I was told. As a person who's enslaved, that is the life that they lead. They have to do what they're told. There are consequences. We meet her godmother, who I mentioned, who is a free Black woman, and she's a half white as well, because a product of rape, but her father freed her, and you see the issues that she's having as a free Black woman and I'll share this part. She's in a abusive relationship, and she needs to get a divorce, and it takes a white man to help her get a divorce. Lalita Tademy goes into some of these systems and laws that are in place that just really make it hard for even those people who are free. Suzette and her mother, Elizabeth, like I mentioned earlier, are on the Durban plantation, and Suzette grows up with her Mrs. Orlean, and Orlean and her mother, Francois, I believe her name is. You get to see that part of the story as well, of this plantation life, and you really see how as age progresses, how really as young kids they're able to live, and play and all of that. But as they become adults, and when I say adults, I'm talking about the age 12 to 15 years old, they are just separated. The lives that they are expected to live are just totally divided. It really becomes, owner and slave, which is really hard to think about. One of the things she mentioned in the author note, she talked about how many people think of the huge plantations from like Gone with the Wind, but most of the time it was these small family-like settings, because for them to be on this plantation, the Durban plantation, looking at this from all who was sold, it was only about 30 or so. About 30 or so enslaved people, and then you have the family who only makes up 3 people. And so that to me is a small setting to be in. It's not big like we are see so many times in the movies where the slave owner and his family owns 200 slaves. There's no way of knowing each other in those type of settings, really. But this one, it brings out the fact that these enslaved people really lived intimate lives with the slave owners. I also mentioned how Suzette really had high hopes, and what I'm seeing is shaping in this book is the issue of colorism. These enslaved people have been taught and ingrained because of what they see that white is right. And so you see them and you hear the slaves even say certain things that just will really make you cringe. Because as Suzette grows, and even though she has, these 2 children by, a white man, her daughter Philomene, who we, at the end of part 2, we get to know Philomene. She is growing up, and now she is becoming what Suzette was in the beginning of the story. Philomene, she has these high hopes. She has someone that she is in love with and that she wants to marry. And you hear Suzette say, but he's a field hand. Like, he's brown, is what she comments to. Because I'm assuming as we go along, and from some of the things that's mentioned in the author notes, this family really gets lighter and lighter and lighter with each generation, and it affects their mind, and it affects how they view other people. Because in the beginning, one part of the story, when Suzette was young, she has three other siblings who do not work in the house. They are in the field. They live in the slave quarters. And Suzette didn't like going down there to the slave quarters, okay? She thought of it as dirty. Really, I believe she thought of it as being beneath her. And unfortunately, like I said, what happens to her just really takes, her down. And I really hate that. But even though this is, fiction, we just know that this happened so many times to so many people during this time in history. So I think that is all I want to share so far with this book. Like I said in the comment sections, what are you all thinking so far? What do you have to say about these characters? What part has shocked you? What part, has any of it, all of it for me, is pretty sad, but I think the author is doing a good job with portraying how the life is. The writing isn't the best, I'll tell you that, in my opinion, but I do think she's doing a good job in getting the emotion across, because I do feel myself being emotional while reading the book. I'm currently a little ways through part 2. Of course, I'm not going to go into it, but I'm on page 188, and we are getting into Philomene's part, which, oh my gosh, it is very interesting to me at this point. When I get off from recording this and editing this, I'm going to go right back into this book and get into it. Before I go, I just want to say this as well. One of the best things about this read along so far for me is seeing you all comment in the previous videos that you are participating and following some of your channels who are participating, and knowing that you've picked up the book. That is great. I would like to remind you to not forget that I do have a read-along chat over on the StoryGraph where you can go in and write your comments. And I see that Dee from Dee's Reading Lounge had a very great comment. I think I read that yesterday. She brought out some details that I had not thought about in the story, and that's what read-alongs are, all about. I also have been enjoying discussing this book with my sister. My sister is really enjoying this book, and I think she is probably almost finished, and she wants me to hurry up so we can discuss it. And the best thing about it, she said that this is a book that she would have not picked up under any circumstances, but she is glad she's reading it. So I'm just like, yay. I think that's one of the greatest or best compliments for someone like me who is a reader, for me to suggest the book and then someone picks it up and it's totally out of the norm for them, and then they enjoy it. That's just one of the joys of reading, right? So that is it for me in this one. I hope I'm not too all over the place. The next 2 videos will be very similar. I will probably take some of the discussion questions that is in the back of this one, because it does have it was an Oprah Book Club pick, and there is a reading group guide inside of here. So I'm going to take or I might save the questions for the last video. Who knows? But here we are. Part 1 of Cane River is complete. Let me know in the comment section what you all are thinking. And I am Lady. I will see you all in my next video. Bye, y'all.